That's what does it.
And blower impeller technology.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. Oh,
Yeah.
every aspect. If you want to talk turbo or talk blower, just talk fuel management. Fuel injection. I converted my street car to fuel injection. It's a 65, but I just converted it to fuel injection last year, and love it. I said, man, this is more like a modern car than ever. This is like phenomenal. Everything should have this. And I have guys at cruise nights looking and saying, man, who did that for him? Like, I did it. You did that? You say, yeah, I did that myself. And guys like, oh man, I'd love to have that, but I don't know. And I said, you got a car here? You got a car? Yeah. What car is yours? Sure. Let's walk over to your car. And I'll walk over to this guy's car, be a beautiful resto mod, or any level thereof. And I'll ask him, did you build this car? And a lot of these guys, the groups I'm hanging out with, yeah, I built it. It's a little older now. It's a little longer tooth. I said, well, if you built this car, you can easily convert it to fuel injection. It's nuts and bolts. Wiring, it has to be done right. It has to be done by the book. But if you can read, I said, and car guys don't read, that's the problem. I said, you can do it. It's not mysterious.
The number one thing to fuel injection when converting a carburetor car to fuel injection that everyone should do is an in-tank fuel pump baffled for fuel injection.
That's what I used.
Don't ever put the external fuel pump setup that comes with a lot of kits where you're gravity feeding, get a filter and a filter. The pump will always overheat, and you'll always have the what is it when your fuel boils over?
Agitation.
And you have that every single time, and you'll be stranded every single time.
I was just explaining that to a guy this week, and actually at a party, and I said, yeah, I'm using the Holley Sniper system. I said, and I chose the one that uses the in-tank pump. So just like an 80s or 90s GM system, I said, there's a regulator right on top. It's a returnless system. He goes, what does that mean? I said, it means it returns right at the regulator in the pump. You don't need a separate return line from the unit. So it's all encased in, well, if one thing fails, I said, listen, any failure point is going to strand you. Let's face it. That's just the way it is. I said, but you got to believe in the engineering. You got to believe you drive your regular car all over the place and you don't think twice about getting stuck, right? So I said, yeah, that's the way I would do it. I do it again. That's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. You have to avoid vapor lock. You cannot have it. Happens all the time. And so once you do that, though, when you brake, you have no dry. When you accelerate, you got no dry. And it's just a much better way to do it. And if you get a good system, it turns out really nice. Fuel injection is really nice these days. They're very.
I just watched the video tonight, a YouTube video. Oh, I forget whose channel it was, but the guy had it looked like a sniper. It wasn't though. It was by a company called 4 Aces.
Yes.
And it also had their wires. And I was like, man, those are nice looking wires with ceramic. I haven't heard of that company.
Yeah, I just saw them at PRI. They've been around a little bit. They're new.
Okay.
They use a 32-bit processor versus everybody else who uses a 16-bit.
16, yeah.
And so it's a faster processor. It can learn faster. It can adjust faster. It's more compact. The computer is very small. It's separate from the throttle body, so it's not going to get heat soaked or anything like that. Out to be a pretty good deal. So I think I'm going to use them on a project on season 14 and see how it compares to like the Edelbrock system or the Holley system. The Edelbrock system is very nice because it's similar to Aces with the same compact design, with the same processor in it, and with the same remote computer. And Edelbrock comes from FAST, which is Fuel Air Spark.
Right.
And they come from back in the day when standalones were born in the late 90s into the early 2000s. And so they have been trialing and error, perfecting their system all the way for 25 plus years. And so they get it. The processor has come a long way. Holley does a very good job. The O2 sensors on Holleys, when you have cars that sit a lot, if you don't drive it, but maybe once every month or 2 months, the O2 sensor will actually go bad on you, and it'll throw the computer into full rich because the O2 sensor sees full lean.
Yeah.
One issue there, but fuel injection these days have come a long way from back in our days when they were born, and we had to literally map out every aspect of the map, every load. There was no smart O2 sensor. There was no learning capabilities like we have today.
Right. Yeah. No doubt that it's progressed, at a nice pace. And we're in a computer age. I mean, let's face it. So it's not surprising. I would expect it to do that. You know, I'm surprised when something like that fails, really. But
no, because it fails because they're building them in volume now. So when you build it in volume, of course, you have to sacrifice quality.
well,
Sacrifice quality, and then you raise the price.
yeah, I talk to a lot of guys, and I find a lot of failures are basically user error.
Yes.
And especially on an install. I mean, the way I got mine, I had, just to give you a little background, I had a 2.4 barrel setup, dual quad setup on my car. So it just so happened a buddy was telling me, hey, I got a friend who's converted his 55 Chevy to snipers, but he doesn't like it. He had a dual quad tunnel ram set up on the car, and he put 2 snipers on it. I'm like, ooh, nice. He goes, yeah, he drove it for 50 miles, didn't like it, took them off. Then he went and bought a single sniper. All right, so now he did an intake change, put a single sniper on, drove it for a little while, didn't like it, took that off. I said, what do you do with all the snipers? So he goes, well, I took the single in case I ever want to use it. I'm like, well, where are the duals? I said, because I can go to a dual setup. I already have the intake on my car. And we put a deal together, and I actually bought it for like pretty much 40 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
I said, but what did the guy do? What's on the car now? He goes, he went back to dual quads on the tunnel ram. He went back to what he knows. And after I unraveled this story over a course of months and seeing the components that he gave me, he did everything wrong. First of all, you can't drive a new installation for 50 miles and think it's done.
Didn't learn.
It's not even close to done.
Yeah.
So that was mistake number one. And he made, the back of the sniper book shows the back page is all the things you shouldn't do with wiring. I think he made every one of those mistakes, plus some others.
Yeah.
So his installation was faulty. He used an old MSD unit, which sends a dirty signal. It's a mixed analog digital signal that causes RFI. What do? You blame the sniper? Sure. No, he did everything wrong. So, I know it filtered back to him that I took all of his stuff. I bought a new harness, a couple of components, and I'm running it flawlessly. And he probably just is saying, well, yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe the guy has, better luck than me. No, it's not better luck. It's
paying more attention.
Engineer it correctly and pay attention, right? And do it. So a lot of user error out there.
Answering those questions is one big part of it. The second big part of it is the idle air control screw.
Oh, yeah.
People don't realize that you have to adjust that when it's absolutely warm, complete operating temperature, and you adjust it down to where the idle air position is between 4 and 9.
Right.
Where that area. That way the idle air control valve is not working when it shouldn't be. It only works when it's cold and under a big load.
Right.
Once those 2 items down, the big thing is that when they come from the factory, there's 2 big things in this whole wide world that is a problem in the domestic side of the world, okay? And that is, one is the air fuel ratios that are set up for your drivability is wrong. At idle, it should be higher. At cruising, it should be lower. At full throttle, depending on whether you're running boost or normally aspirated, you should be between 12.6 and 13.2. And the other biggest thing is the fan control speed. A lot of people think that 200 degrees is hot. 215 degrees is not hot. 220 degrees in some cases is normal. A Jeep runs 225 degrees. A GM today in the last 25 years runs 235 degrees, all right, before the fans kick on. So when back in the day, before we had global warming is real, but it's not because of humans, cars would run cooler. So you would run a 160, 170, 180, whatever. You wouldn't go past 200. You had a clutch fan or a flex fan. The fan's always running. Your stuff stayed cool. Well, in the last 25, 30 years, you got electronic control. You have a range of between 185 degree thermostat to 195 degrees, and the fans come on in the factories between 215 and 235. Well, everything that comes out of the box in a domestic application for a hot rod comes on at 185 and turns off at 175. Well, when that happens, your fans never turn off because you're always running 185. Unless you're running a 150 thermal and you're going down the cruising, you'll be cruising at 178 and the fan won't come on. But any other time the fan is on, so when the fans are on, they're overheating the entire system. The fans, the relays, the wiring, everything. Fans break down and then they no longer cool. So if everyone out there who would get these products out of the box would just go in, use your brain, and turn the fans on at 210 or 215 and have them turn off at 200 to 205.
You know, Sam, you're reading my mind, brother. You know, the end of the summer, that's what I was dealing with. My car previously with the carburetors ran around 180, 185. Now it's running around 200. And it was bothering me at first. I thought I had a problem. So I did some diagnostics. And then I started looking at the sniper. I said, you know what? Just what you said. I said, I got the air fuel ratio way too lean. You know, this car shouldn't run at 14.7. And then I did a plug check. I said, let me just check the plugs. Yeah, they weren't overly lean. They weren't dangerous lean, but they were lean. I said, this car needs to be fatter. So I richened up the
air fuel,
you know, the AFR, right? And I said, now, you know, the lean condition will also cause the car to run hotter. Temperature stayed about the same, but the car got happier. I said, yeah, I remember just apply basic diagnostics to this thing, see what it's telling you, and just react to it. Don't just go, you know, and people tell me, you know, they're throwing all sorts. Yeah, you need 4 fans. You need, you know, a turbo. No. You know, everybody's got these great ideas about what to do. Run a cool can. Run. No, dude, listen. You know, how about some basic tuning first? And it's exactly what's doing the trick.
I put a 160 in everything south of the cold belt. Anything above that gets a 180.
Yeah.
That's just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The 160 and the 180 only determines how much heat is coming out of the vents. Now, if you're running a little cooler, you're running a rich mixture. If you're running hotter, you're running a leaner mixture. But in theory, you want to run overall cooler if it costs you a little bit of fuel. It's better to run cooler than to run hotter and save money on the fuel.
And again, they say, you know, an engine is more efficient when it runs warmer.
Yep.
Because you burn off the byproducts. You burn off, you know, you won't have byproducts. So, yeah, you got to dance that line.
Well, it takes to burn fuel. And the more heat you have, the easier it is to burn that fuel. So the less fuel you need.
Right.
So that's, you know, the first ingredient to combustion is heat. And that heat comes from the cylinder and the piston moving up and down.
Sure.
A little bit of heat, just like your pilot light. When you turn on the light, you got to hold it down because you want the pilot to get hot so it holds the plane. You know.
Right.
You know, these are things that kids need to be taught. These are little things that they don't even teach in a lot of tech schools and stuff. So I think if kids were to get into an environment where you got cool guys around cool things that they can relate to, that they want to be a part of, saying cool things that they want to be a part of something cool. So that's the theory.
Right. All right, so it's 10 o'clock. So I'm going to get the fellas in that might want to ask you a couple of questions, Sam, and, you know, we can
yeah, we've been hogging. We've been hogging, Sam.
Yeah.
Fine.
There's the Matco man.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
What's up, Brian?
What's up, Brian?
Keith, Papa
Not
Squirrel.
much.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello, everyone.
Everybody. Jim jumped out. He's gone, huh?
I'm sitting here listening and learning. That's what I'm doing.
And it looks like you're back home.
Yes, I am. Finally,
Nice.
my house, my chair.
Nice.
There you go.
Must feel good. You're not looking at
Oh,
Canada
God.
anymore.
No, I'm not up on the Canadian border.
Good.
No, you said it, Sam. It's amazing. I argue with a lot of
It is.
people. You get into that temperature range, and I worked. I started out at on German cars, And it was always, I want to put these colder plugs in, you know, I got to make the car run cool, you know, and it drove me crazy as you try to explain that there's a limit to how cold you can go before you're not really helping anything.
Exactly. Especially the guy thermostat's out, right?
Yeah.
And cruising down the road for 20 minutes and your temperature's like 130 because the radiator's doing its job and cooling everything down. And there's no different than heat soak, you got cold soak, right? So, and that's not good because then everything is shrinking and now you're scratching metal, right?
Yeah, we have a local car show thing I go to, and there was a guy, and he had I've got a fastback, and he's got one too, and but he got talking to somebody, and he wanted, you know, of course it was, I want to go faster, and the guy was like, you got to put a bigger carburetor on, you know, and it was just a stock 289, so you know they put this, you know, 780 double pumper on. And, you know, now he's got a bog. So now he needs to put a rear in the car. And he asked me about it. And I just told him, I said, you know, back in the old days when we were kids, we thought bigger was always better. So we did that. And I said, you're dealing with the wrong guy because, you know, the car ran fine before. There's little things you need to do, but you know, like I said, it's just amazing that process.
So did you talk him into the 488s? At least 56s. Come on.
Yeah, go with 513s, buddy. Don't worry. You'll hope they'll take your bog out.
Wow. Yeah.
What people don't understand is that the bigger just adds RPM. And so when you make things bigger, your camshaft better be bigger. Because you have to be able to flow to get advantage of that RPM. You have to be able to make the power at that higher. And then when you're making power at higher RPM, you're moving your power band up, so you're losing bottom-end torque. And we're in partial throttle drivability mode 95% of the time. We're only floored 5% of the time, racing our buddies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's the funny part was if you take like, you know, the late 80s, mid 90s, you know, like when the 5.0 Mustang. And it was so simple because all you had to do was spend $500 and you had such a faster vehicle. But after that, it got expensive because that's when you had to, you know, move on and you're getting into bigger and better things.
When you start internals is when it starts to get expensive.
Yeah.
So, and the biggest thing is the cam. And you have to have displacement to be able to support the camshafts. Like in a Honda or an import, when you put a camshaft in, because they're already designed for horsepower, they don't have torque. That's why they naturally rev between 6,000 and 8,000 RPM. When you put a camshaft in one of those cars, you only gain 5 to 7 horsepower. But when you put a camshaft in a domestic car, because the domestic V8 is so choked up, when you put a camshaft in it, it widens, livens up, so it makes 65, 70 horsepower. Because it's an apple and an orange. One is designed for low RPM, one is designed for high RPM, and the high RPM already has a camshaft to be able to do the high RPM.
You know, Sam, you're hitting all the right marks tonight because with cams, again, the thing that I've seen that I think is the best thing to happen since camshafts is the dual pattern cam. You know, I'm using one in my car. It's like now I have a big block engine. Once I rebuilt it, with short skirt, hyper-eutectic pistons, better rods, all sorts of good technology, it drives more like a small block now than a big block because it revs, you know, and it revs like just effortlessly. So, yeah, cam technology, unbelievable.
Yep.
I often count the old school just flipping the air cleaner lid.
We do that too. Yeah, you do that too. Sure. Always.
That's good for another 50
Always.
That is. Some of those old school tricks.
We learned that from Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
You always forgot to put it back over.
Never did. You know, dirtied it up and just get another one from ECS. Ladies and gentlemen, how's everyone doing?
Derry.
All right. Sounds
Okay.
So Terry, Sam got a Z28 behind him.
Is that Terry Wilson?
Yeah.
Terry, I don't have my glasses on.
The one and the only.
I haven't seen you in a year.
I know, man. How you been, bro?
Not bad, just working. I'm in my,
Same.
you guys.
Is Sam,
Oh man, what year is that Z28 bag? Is it SS? What is it?
This is a Z20
What year? I can't really see it. Well, hold on, let me blow my screen up.
Z28. They only made 1,129 of them. This is number 311.
Wow.
When I came across this one, because I loved it so much back in the day, I just had to have it. So
Second, hold on, that's a Gen 5.
it's got the wide body on it. It's got 305. It's got 100
Is that
part numbers specific to the Z28.
this
So,
is Z20? Oh man, okay.
427 Z28.
All right, cool. That's
Nice.
fine. I got a ZL1, but that's fine. You have your Z28. Go ahead. Rock star.
Man, like, how many times do you guys grab a beer and go out to the garage, just sit next to the car and just stare at it, right? I mean, no matter how old we are, we still do it.
Yeah.
That's what I want to keep doing.
But
Well, it started with Hot Wheels.
unfortunately, Sam, what you were talking about earlier, it's hard. Now, there are a few of the kids out there to try to bring them back into this, but it's a whole different generation. And I, as a guy that goes into dealerships and see what is out there and what is going on, it's a very tough road for that. And that's a whole different world, a different generation. And it's completely amazing some of the conversations I have with kids that are getting into this. And unfortunately, not just there are people that want to come into this, but unfortunately, it's the owners and the people that own the business that are there just for the almighty dollar and not experiencing that. And then this is the problem. I got owners that tell me all the time, I can't keep somebody here. And I flat out tell them, I said, you don't pay them. You don't pay them enough. And they're like, well, what do you mean? The guy's getting X amount. And I said, but you're charging this much and you want him to buy every tool to fix a car. He can't do that on what you're paying him.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, until we get over the corporate greed, these guys will never get back into this business like we are. And then the few guys that are sitting here that watch this.
I'm surprised he didn't tell you that's what you're for, to give him credit.
Oh, yeah, I give a guy. They all say, man, tool guy, you're rich. I said, the only reason why, I said, you guys got all my money. I don't have any of it.
Yeah.
I look great on paper until they ask me for the money.
Right.
But I think if we get them in middle school age, and willing to sacrifice revenue,
You're going after the wrong crowd. You got to go after the people that own the business and running the business.
You're right.
Because when the kid is still there. The kid's going to go out and play with the rocks and dirt until the first guy in the white van comes by and says, hey, kid, look at this computer.
Yeah, but you know what else?
And you lost
another problem. Another problem is that the cars are just so expensive. It's not like back in the day where we could buy like a car for $500, flip the air cleaner over and go racing. We can't do that no more. I mean, like, you can't even play. I mean, if you don't have something, at least you're going to be bucking up. And it's also the electronics of it. And I think it was just simpler back then because, we were swapping cams out and out in the driveway, hoisting engines out with a tree and a chain. We could do that. But now, I mean, everything's so more complex and plus expensive. Most of the kids don't want to take a chance of messing up. And then it's more expensive.
it's the expensive. We got to fix the expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The world is unreachable. The exotic world has gotten ridiculous. Cars after COVID are obnoxiously overvalued, my opinion. That's why I'm hoping that NOPI, what it was past, was a grassroots, inexpensive way. And so if we can get kids excited again about getting back into the sport in an inexpensive manner and not make fun of them, praise them. That's the problem. Is, if someone doesn't have the proper funds to proper stuff to be part of the club, he's going to get made fun of, and that's happen. That's whatever. But we need to do more praising than making fun of right now, because we're all going to make fun of each other at some point. But we need to praise more so to get them excited, because they're timid. The kids today are more timid, and they don't have the guts to come up and ask the right stuff that they want to ask. And so we praise them and get them more welcoming into getting into our world, and get them at a younger age, and get them excited to what we're doing, and get them to get their licenses and permits. I mean, you guys, that you go to a dealership with a 10-year-old car, and they won't work on that car because, I don't know, they say they don't have the tools to work on that car, or they don't have the experience. That's not true. A 10-year-old car, there's nothing wrong with it. It just needs basic stuff still. Cars in the last 30 years can go 100, 2,000 miles without batting an eye, unless it's German and everything is O-rings and it just everything out of itself. But things have changed, and the politics in the industry hasn't changed to where they want you out of the car 1,000 miles. They want you to keep on switching cars, don't repair them, and just give us the sales money when they make more money in the service department. We all know that.
Yep.
Oh,
I agree. I agree with that, with the getting the kids young, and then praising them, showing an interest in what they're looking at. I've got 2 kids on the football team. I coach at the middle school, and they're extremely curious about vehicles. They, I don't know if they're tuning in right now, but they usually tune in. And I know one day I was on break and I popped into the classroom, and one of the boys had Summit Racing, had engines up on his computer. And I walked over and I said, "What are you doing? This isn't classwork." And he goes, "Oh, coach, it was up and I was looking. I see, you're fine." I said, "Get your classwork done." But I said, I like this. That stuff excites me. It excites me to see those kids looking at that stuff, or they come up and ask questions, and our high school that we feed into, actually several of the high schools in our district have auto shop, and I know the high school we feed into started a welding program, and the welding program wasn't there when I was there. I'm jealous of these kids. They got that, both the auto shop and the welding program.
Nice.
And in the rural parts of this country, there is still those programs. They have to have them. They live in rural places to where you have to have trucks and mechanics and stuff like that out there doing what they do, or they would be completely stuck. It's the cities that have gotten away from it, who just want to create a bunch of college students, and it just doesn't work. If we get these kids excited in what we're doing and get them back to being boys again, and get them excited to getting their licenses and getting their cars and doing what they do again, I think even if we have to get through them with their phones, through an app, if we have to use an app to get them engaged into getting back into cars. And I've noticed in the last 3 years, 4 years, that kids are into nostalgia. They're trying to figure out what we were doing back in the day, and they're starting to go check those things out. I've noticed that. And since COVID, the car show scene has almost doubled, because a lot of people didn't have anything else to do but to go to car shows. And because I covered so many car shows, I've gone around, and you guys have seen all the events on social media with car shows every other week or month at different places. Car shows have really grown. And so I think that because kids are starting to get curious about nostalgia and what we grew up with, they're starting to listen to the 80s music, the 90s stuff, wearing 90s clothes. And we can, because we got their attention.
Sporting the 70s fro.
Yeah, man, let's capitalize on it. You know, kids want to listen to cool guys. They want to, when they see something cool and a cool guy with a cool car, not acting arrogant, not acting obnoxious, being a humble, cool guy.
Right.
Yeah.
They're attracted to it. And so when you get their attention as a mentor and a good car guy, you should give back to the community, swallow your pride, let go of the ego, and mentor that kid while you got their attention.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Preach, Sam.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. You know, Sam, I miss you, man. What's good, man? How you feeling, brother?
I'm good, man. It's busy. We're empty nesters now, Terry. So the wife and I have nothing but time to put towards these agendas and goals. If we don't fix what we have going on, then when we're older, we're going to be screwed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have anyone to go to, and when
Mhm.
we're going to have to stand in line and pay huge amounts of money because it's going to be a small amount of them doing big things, and we don't want that. You know, I go to the I say, we don't fix the kid thing. You guys are going to sell tools and parts down the road. You're going to have layoffs. You want to keep your job, you have to invest in the kids and do it. Get them young. I think when we get into high school, we almost lose them. I think we lose half of them when we get into middle
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. Once the
I
girls
agree
pop up, they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you need a car to go cruising to find those girls.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of kids that don't even want to get their license.
No,
Yep.
I've seen it in my own family.
dude,
Same
they're
here.
22-year-old technicians in their early 20s who fix a car and can't test drive it. Give the keys to someone else to test drive it. Because
Yeah.
that's
That's crazy.
You know, and as you say that, that was the same thing that happened at when I went to get my wheel line. The guy couldn't drive because my ZL1's a stick. He couldn't
Mhm.
drive the car. He had to get his boss to drive the car in to give it a wheel alignment and
Yep.
drive it out. Dude, I drive it out. Don't worry about it.
A buddy of mine's got a newer Bronco that's a manual, and he went to go pick it up, and he's waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and he's sitting there, and he finally says, "Hey, man, I've been waiting like 15 minutes. Are they going to bring my car down?" And they said, "Oh, could you come with us, sir? We got a little problem here." And he thinking like they wrecked the car,
Yeah.
the truck, and he's like, the car lot guy can't drive your car. I mean, doesn't know how to drive a manual. So, but it's up on the upper deck. Could you just right up there? You can get it yourself.
Millennial anti-theft device. You know, I actually saw a valet sign at a restaurant that said they had another sign over that said no manuals.
Yeah.
No manual transmissions. Like, oh my God.
You know, how
Manual's the best to drive.
how exciting is a valet guy, a car wash guy, or a technician where these cars come in? You have to especially alignment. You have to test drive it before and after the alignment. So when I was an alignment tech at Goodyear, I would get so excited because I was in a nice area and these nice cars would come, and I would have to take them down the road and back. And it was the best thing you could ever have. When I was 15 years old, I would work at a car wash in a local town, and there was a guy in an Acura NSX. He lived a quarter mile down the road, and he would come up to me. I would take him back to his house at 15. No one in the car. I'd take him back to the apartment, take him back, wash the car, pick him up. I was on cloud nine. You couldn't get happier than that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the thing that these kids need to go at.
My dad was adamant when I was learning to drive. You will learn to drive a stick shift because if you can drive a stick shift, you can drive anything.
Yep.
He said you might have trouble with the big trucks because their patterns can be so weird, but hell, now they're automatics anyway.
Yep.
But he made sure I learned stick.
Yep.
Yep.
I will prefer stick shift over a paddle shift any day.
Any
Yeah.
day. It was not an option for me. My uncle was like, get in the car. It happened to be it was a Buick 454. No, 455. A Buick Skylark. So I was cool with that. I was like, all right, So here I am at 11 years old driving the stick. So I'm like,
Yeah.
that's where it all starts, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
I did that with my son. I have a 350Z, and he goes,
there
"Can
you
I
go.
drive it?" And it was just in the yard, and he was probably 13. I go, "Yeah, let's see if you can drive it. I want to see if you get in." And the clutch is going on the thing, and like let's see if you get it into first gear. And he's like, stalled it a couple times. I'm do this, and finally he got it, and he's like, "Grr." I'm like, "All right, now slow down." He's just driving around the yard. I'm like, "All right, we're done. You got it. Hit the brake.
I
We're
remember
not going anywhere."
of my grandfather's '86 Honda Civic, and I would do the gears while he would do the clutch.
Yeah, me too.
I would watch him, and I would just do the gears, and that was so exciting to me.
Yeah.
I do that exactly with my son now. He's like
Oh.
10, he just turned 10. He
That's-
loves it. Yeah. So he's gonna be ready when he goes to England in the right side drive car.
Well,
Yeah.
be a part of it. It's exciting to engage in something that you guys are doing, moving this vehicle forward and backwards. Like to be a part of that as a young boy was natural. And so today we're raising young boy girls who don't shake hands, who don't clean themselves, who don't do their hair, they don't cut their hair. They don't do anything to try to impress a girl. We used to do it because at the end of the line, we were trying to get the attention of a girl because that's what we were after. These kids are not after that anymore. They're not provoked into going and chasing girls and being young boys. And that's a huge problem that nobody wants to admit, talk about, but it needs to be addressed.
Right.
Oh, I so agree because, man, when I was a young kid, everything I did was to try to impress some young lady.
Period.
Try to. Didn't always work. Sometimes it did, but, but hey, that's what I was doing. That's what your whole job was as a kid in school.
Yep. That's exactly right. You would get a job to get money to afford a girl. You would get a job to get money to make your car look cool or sound good to impress a girl.
Yeah.
It's crazy that that's gone out the window. The guys don't even care about talking to a girl, touching a girl, being with a girl, to show off a girl, to go out in public and show off this pretty girl that's next to you at the mall or something. They don't care about any of that. And that's got to change first.
Of course, I can guarantee you here in California, you got to be really careful because a young man, you don't want to touch one because she might decide you can't do that.
No, it's
All these other, and I'm looking at this going, there's so many rules and unwritten rules for a young male. It's like, what the hell are you supposed to do? I'm so glad that I've got mine because I wouldn't want to be on the dating scene now. That would just
Yeah.
Even adults have thrown in the towel because no matter what they do, they're a creep. And that's just girls have become toxic. You're right. So
they've been taught to be that.
no, and you're right.
Hey, I'm going to throw in a pause real quick so I can end the live stream. So everybody hold on 1 second. All right, let's see. Okay, everybody, I'd like to thank Sam for coming on tonight, sharing with us all the knowledge that he has. And for everybody on live stream, please let everybody know that we do this every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern time. And we have all kind of guests. We have entertainers, we have builders, we have companies come on and share their products. So anything automotive, we do it right here. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight, and everybody have a safe holiday next week. And we'll see you on the next one.